The Sooner offense got into a groove by the Grove at Ole Miss in the first half last Saturday with a new co-coordinator calling the plays, but stymied in the second half. They were sent to a third straight loss in SEC play. With a potential bowl bid hanging in the balance, it's back home for some bear hunting. From Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium in Norman, this is Sooner Game Day presented by Taco Mayo. Big appetite, bigger savings. Download and save today. It's the first ever meeting between the Sooners and the Maine Black Bears out of the Football Championship Subdivision's Colonial Athletic Conference. Kickoff 1:30. The game is televised on ESPN Plus with Brian Custer, Rod Gilmore, and Lauren Sisler. They will be on the call. Welcome in. Here is the pertinent information. 2 wins to bowl eligibility for the Oklahoma Sooners. And after today, the 3 opponents they have remaining on the schedule are all in the top 25. Going to be tough to get 2 more the rest of the way, so you got to have this one. And welcome inside the studios. You know my partners, the Butkus and Bednarik award-winning linebacker, national champion at Oklahoma, Teddy Lehman, and the Werfel Trophy winner, academic All-American of the Year and All-American center, Gabe Eichert, sandwiched in between. So, fellas, signs of improvement offensively, certainly in Oxford last week. First half, Sooners go for 235 yards, 14 points, and the lead. Second half, about 95 yards, no points, 7 sacks late in the game were a real struggle. So, big picture this, Teddy. What did we see from first half to second half last week?
Well, first half looked really good. They looked sharp. They played fast. We were physical on the offensive line. A lot of things were really working. We were moving the football, went on some really long drives, which is, a bit of a change-up for us. And a lot of it changed whenever we had yet another injury on the offensive line that kind of threw us off rhythm. And then we come out the second half. Third down was great first half, not good in the second half. Mental mistakes, some penalties cost us. And then as the game separated, we became more and more desperate. We just couldn't get the blocking up front.
When you look at the struggles in the second half, it's really the third quarter.
Yeah.
Is when the game got away from the Sooners, and it was third down. You look at 3 of the 4 possessions there in the third quarter, you're in third and very manageable. You're talking 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5. Now, one drive you're in like 3rd and 26.
Right.
You don't have any plays for that one in the playbook. But 3 of those 4 drives, you were in very manageable third down situations and you didn't convert, right? The first drive of the second half, you're in 3rd and 3. You have a false start. You're in 3rd and 8. You don't convert. And the Sooners were really, really good in the first half on third down, and Ole Miss certainly helped them out with some penalties that helped a couple of those scoring drives. But that was the difference in my mind, other than you had another offensive line injury. You had to insert a young player that hasn't played a lot, that struggled at points in time. But those third and manageable situations in the third quarter, not converting on those, that's really where the separation was created for Ole Miss there in that third quarter.
So this feels like a week where you can keep the main thing, so to speak.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, well, I try every now and again.
This guy. Come on.
You're just trying to work on you. We all need to work on
Speaking
us.
of, this is going to drive me crazy.
Oh, no. Okay.
There we go. There we go.
See, now that's teamwork makes the dream work right there, fellas.
We're all helping each other today.
Appreciate the booth up there. Let me know about that.
Yeah.
Well,
Come on, Dad. It was a little communication went silent.
Fix your collar.
Bad radio
Fix your collar.
So what do we mean as far as this week is concerned? Just focus on you. If not to disrespect or disparage your opponent, but work on you this week.
And it's no disrespect to Maine, but it's all about Oklahoma in this football game. And really what you want to see is clean execution. And it's not going to be perfect. It never is. That's not football. Like, mistakes happen. It's a very physical and fast-moving game. But you want to see great fundamentals and assignment-sound football. Mm-hmm. That's what you've been working on this week if you're Oklahoma, with Maine coming to town. You've been working on you. Hey, let's get back to playing with great fundamentals. Let's know exactly where we're going on both sides of the ball, and then let's go execute at a high level, Ted.
Yeah, and I feel like it was apparent. You could tell that it was crisper early. All right. We were more organized. We played faster. I thought we saw improvement from Jackson Arnold just in some of the footwork stuff and getting the ball out quick and on target. I think those are some good things that you can build on.
So the matchup, Oklahoma against Maine. Now, Maine plays in the football championship subdivision. 2 weeks ago, they upset the number 5 team in that division. That's Villanova. Take that for what it's worth. We're going to talk about Oklahoma and what we saw this past weekend. Joe John Finley's first game as play caller. The elevation, Seth Luttrell gets let go. But, Gabe, what did you think of the game plan and the play calling that Joe John put together?
I thought he did a nice job, especially early. And this is a recurring theme. I was talking about how good things looked in that first half. But I really liked what I saw from the run game and then how Joe John built things off of that as the game progressed. Right, the variations of inside zone, the variations of counter, and then some of the wrinkles they got to in the passing game, in the RPO game, off of those concepts. It all fit. As I watched it unfold, it made a lot of sense. Now, there were a couple of situations, and Joe John would be the first one to tell you, he wants a couple of those calls back. You think about the 4th down play on the first drive of the game.
Yeah.
Probably could have gone with something different there. But there are a couple situations in the game where I'm sure he goes, I had a better call for that. But overall, I thought things flowed together nicely, Ted. And the guys, this is the best thing you can say about Joe John Finley is for the majority of the game, except for that third quarter, the guys went out and executed the plan at a pretty high level.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the things, and you can see it here on the highlights, that is new for us, Barnes had 5 catches. That's not something that we've seen, throwing the ball to the running backs out of the backfield, but that created some quick, easy throws and just an easy opportunity to get a good athlete out in space on a defensive back where they've got to make a tough tackle. And I think that's something we can build on as well.
Teddy, set some goals, if you would, for us. If you're defensive side of the ball, explosive plays limited, turnovers game, those sorts of things. What are you looking at? What would you like to see defensively?
Well, turnovers, it's hard to.
We're going to force 4 turnovers.
Yeah, it's hard to set a goal on that because you just don't know. Like sometimes turnovers just happen. They bobble the ball, the pass gets tipped, whatever. So it's hard to set a goal there. But whenever we create pressure on the quarterback and chaos in the backfield is typically whenever you see those happen. And that should be something we can do this week. We should have a massive advantage on the line of scrimmage. And then on the back end, this should be a week where you can keep it simple. I mean, Ole Miss has a really good passing attack, and they put pressure on you. You've got to do some exotic things in coverage just to give yourself a chance. Matchup-wise, we should be better across the board, and we shouldn't have to try and help everyone out with a bunch of coverages. Play it more straight, and that should give us a chance to get to the quarterback and force those chaotic situations in the pocket.
One of the things I try to remind people about OU's defense is that other than a handful of plays against Texas, they have been excellent against the run.
Yeah.
Ole Miss couldn't do anything running the football. And remember, Jackson Dart is a mobile guy that they like to use in the run game, and they have 69 yards rushing?
69, yeah.
It just, they continue to impress me with their violence at the point of attack and how they're playing opponents' rushing attacks. It's really, really good defense.
The Scoop is presented by your neighborhood Brahms Ice Cream and Dairy Stores, farm fresh for over 50 years. So Jordan Stevens is the head coach at Maine, 35 years old, very, very young guy. Played, can you imagine, 35 years old?
I'm only 34. That's
you ready for that?
I feel very unaccomplished.
Same.
What do we know about this Maine offense in particular, Gabe?
Yeah, they're going to take their time. They're going to take their time. They're going to get in a huddle, use a lot of different personnel groupings. I think that they average snapping the ball with 5 seconds.
It's a complete opposite of Ole Miss.
Yeah, they're not going to use a bunch of tempo, but they want to take their time. They want to shorten the football game. And then from a schematic standpoint, it's a lot of similar stuff to what OU's defense
Tons
has seen.
of carryover.
Yeah, there's not a bunch of concepts where you go, whoa, what is that? So it's a familiar attack, just at a different pace. And I think the quarterback, Carter Peavy, he's got a nice arm. He's a pretty mobile guy, but Montego Moss is the name to know.
Yeah.
Number 81 is their go-to guy. He's got 24 more catches than any other player on their team. But this is something, Ted, let me know if you disagree, but as I watch their offense, they look really well coached.
Yeah, it's a nicely coordinated attack. You know, they'll hit you with some different stuff in the run game, like not anything that you haven't seen before, but really methodical. Quarterback can move around a little bit, has a good arm. They'll try and create some opportunities, whether it's wheel routes or, you know, some pick plays in man-to-man coverage, try and get some one-on-ones. But, you know, the thing is almost everyone these days runs the same a version of the same offense, and it's going to be the same with Maine. We've seen all of this stuff so far this year, so it shouldn't be any big learning curve for our guys defensively.
How about on the defensive side of the ball? What are we looking at in the Black Bears?
Yeah, a lot of the same stuff that we've seen. I mean, they're going to get in, you know, some multiple fronts, stuff that you kind of see like whenever we play against our defense, the same fronts that our offense sees when they go good on good against our defense. So we should have a pretty good attack for them. And again, I think this is an opportunity for us to get in some rhythm in the run game, find some confidence for Jackson Arnold in the pass game.
Maine Black Bears, the opponent for the Sooners this week. So you're wondering, why Maine? Why this late in the calendar year? Well, SEC, you get 4 non-conference games. It's 8 conference games, 4 non-conference, as opposed to 9 in the conference, 3 non-conference in the Big 12, as in the past.
Let's call it what it is. This is our first November SEC cupcake game.
It is.
It's a creative way. The SEC created a nice way to have a late bye week.
It's a weird feeling, but I think most of us would agree it feels needed right now.
It does feel a bit needed. It's the latest non-conference game that Oklahoma has played since 2001, so 20-something years since they were in this type of situation. Coming up next, some very good signs of improvement for Jackson Arnold and the Oklahoma offense in Oxford last week. His first road start produced at least a good half of football. Now, how can they take that and build upon it this week? Fellas, dive in on that next on Sooner Game Day, presented by Taco Mayo. Well, Joe John Finley calling the plays for the first time for the Sooners last week. It produced their second highest offensive output of the year. Really good in the first half. Too many sacks late in the game. In fact, 10 sacks total, the most by an Oklahoma opponent since they began tracking that stat back in 1982. Sorry, Gabe. Most of those came 7.
First of all, it was not 10. Listen, I know it's not good enough, but anyone that thinks that there were 10 sacks in this game, just
here we go.
A tackle for loss on a quarterback called run is not a sack. That's
Shouldn't
the
be.
Dumbest thing in the world.
Shouldn't be, yes. Yeah. They think when a quarterback's tackled behind the line of scrimmage, it's a sack.
Bauer Short, they counted that, the double pass as a sack. That's ridiculous.
How many sacks realistically were there?
I had him down for 6. I heard Venables say, hey, I like my number better.
Well, it was good and some bad. You know, Jackson Arnold with his legs, he had 99 gross yards, but because of the tackles for loss that were some credited as sacks, he ends up with like 35 or 36 yards. So, Gabe, I'll start with you. Overall, what'd you think? His first road start, I think Ted said improvement, better decision making.
I thought it was his best game.
Yeah.
I really liked the decision making. I continue to believe that him running the football gets him into the game.
Gets rid of the nerves. You take a hit or two.
A little more. I thought he was very smart when guys were covered and he should check it down, he checked it down. And I think that's a sign of growth. He made some good decisions in the RPO game, whether it was to hand it or to throw it. So I think when you look at Jackson Arnold's overall growth as a quarterback, it's not been an easy season for him, right? But he worked through the adversity. He's now back as being the starter. And I thought that he looked better. I thought he showed improvement.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You see that right there. Great read on that RPO. Gets the ball out really quick. And you see him.
Woo.
Yeah, and what I love about that is keeping the eyes downfield. And you see this quite a bit. He's avoiding pressure. And instead of just panicking and pulling it down and run, he avoids, finds another platform for his feet, and gets his eyes back downfield.
Now, as far as the sacks, a lot of that, there's nothing Jackson Arnold can do. Late in the game, they gave up a string of sacks where let's just be real, guys are either getting beat or busting. those things, like you can get beat sometimes, but it was all technique issues and then a couple just letting defensive linemen go. You just cannot do that. That's inexcusable. Those mistakes cannot happen along the offensive line.
The pass catching group, it kind of is what it is at this point. This is what you're going to have. Now, does it feel like maybe he can develop a little synergy with some of those guys?
I like what we've seen when it comes to relationship he's developing, the chemistry he's developing with Jacob Jordan.
Yeah,
Guy gets open. That's the whole point of playing the position, right?
Yeah.
The guy gets open, but we need to see him and Brennan Thompson develop a little more chemistry. When you put the tape on, Brennan Thompson gets open.
Yeah.
And he's got elite speed. So I would like to see those guys connect more. I know that Bauer Sharp has had some issues with dropping the football, but in the middle of the field, Bauer, he really does a nice job of getting open. So you're looking for Jackson Arnold to continue to distribute the football and continue to put the ball where the coverage dictates the ball going.
Ted, how do you, to say we're just going to make sure we distribute the ball to one guy in particular is not super easy, in particular where they are as an offense right now. But how can you try to get the ball to a playmaker who's got a lot of speed like this?
Well, frankly, if you're Jackson Arnold, you go to coach and say, we need to get this guy the football. For whatever reason in our progression, he's not in my early reads. We need to get him in my early reads. And you can force that, whether it's, we saw Brennan Thompson make a couple of nice plays a few weeks in a row in just a short little bubble game, pick up some easy first downs. That's a way to find a little bit of rhythm right there. But, this is a good opportunity to push the ball down the field. And we've been, clamoring for that, and it's not always as easy as just turn and fire the thing, but sometimes it's not much more difficult than that. And he wins. And sometimes it looks like he's maybe not open. If you just push the ball down there, he's faster than anyone on the field. He can go get it.
Yeah.
And you looking at the main defense and the way that they do some things, you're going to get some opportunities where they play man coverage, but the majority of the time they play really far off at corner. They give you that cushion. They want to reduce the explosive plays. So I want to see Jackson Arnold, this wide receiver core, like you work on these timing routes, the deep comebacks, the deep outs, the deep dig routes. You work on that all off season, all training camp, routes on air, all the stuff during the summer. I would love for them to throw some of those timing routes and for them to look crisp in those situations if Maine's going to give it to them.
Yeah, and whenever you give a cushion, you're basically saying we don't want to cover. Well, if you don't want to cover, you better tackle because we're going to throw it underneath and let our athletes go try and make plays and put you in some space. So if you don't want to cover, make them come up and make plays on athletes in space.
How about Javonte Barnes last couple of games, Gabe? He's breaking off over 4 yards per carry. They're throwing the ball to him, some in particular, last week at Ole Miss. Why has it seemingly gotten better for him? Health, for one?
Health. Confidence. I thought, even though statistically it's not his best game of his career, there is no doubt in my mind that what Javonte Barnes did in Oxford was his best performance ever.
Especially accounting for the opponent. That's
no
a
doubt
really
about
good
it.
defense.
He did a nice job catching the ball out of the backfield. I thought he displayed as much elusiveness.
Right there, that's about 10 yards after contact.
And, you're never doubting whether the guy's playing hard, running hard, but I thought he displayed the best vision he's ever displayed. You see some of these cuts that he made in this game, finding the openings, finding the hole. In the past, let's be real, they've been an issue for Javonte Barnes. I just think he's reached a new level of belief in himself. And that has become a huge factor for him out there on the field. He's playing his best football.
Big picture this, Teddy. What goals, what things do you want to see from the offense this week?
Well, I know everyone's going to want to see a big number of points-wise, and I do too, but the key thing for me is efficiency. Do not turn the football over. Don't penalize ourselves with, pre-snap penalties. Some things, holding stuff, some of that stuff's going to happen. But just find some efficiency, some nice drives, get some confidence. And if you do those things, the points are going to come. And push the ball over the top.
We've all seen the forecast. Mm-hmm. Take care of the ball.
Yeah.
Take care of the ball.
Wet football, take care of the ball.
Take care of the ball.
But my number one goal for this game is to continue to build some confidence along the offensive line.
Yeah.
That comes from running it well and protecting your quarterback at a high level. So need to come out, build on some of the success that they had in that first half against Ole Miss, running the football, build on some of the success that they had in the RPO game off of those things. This group has to believe in itself the rest of the way because we all know what the schedule looks like.
Oh, yeah.
So we need this group, no matter who's out there, and I'm not sure who it's going to be, but whoever's out there, you gotta build confidence.
And the number one thing you want out of a game like this, outside of a win, health. Health. Maybe you can get a little bit healthier.
Oh, that boat has sailed. We are.
It feels that way.
We are a banged up football team.
No question. Sooners are without a 100-yard rusher or 100-yard receiver so far this season offensively. I bet that changes this week. Up next, Sooner defense keeping them in it with the chance to win once again last week. And some new faces. How about Caden Woolard? Didn't see that coming. Will there be more new contributors this week against Maine? Maybe some names to watch for next on Sooner Game Day. Welcome back into Sooner Game Day presented by Taco Mayo. It is Oklahoma and Maine coming up at 1:30 right here at Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. Sooner defense once again very good down at Ole Miss last weekend. They hold the number 2 offense in the country, 180 yards and 14 points below its season average. Now only 1 sack in that game. Jackson Dart, you said he's got good feet. Ran the ball effectively and got it out. But if I'm asking you, where can they improve defensively, Teddy, and maybe it starts this week, where can they get a little bit better on that side of the ball?
Explosive plays. I mean, it's been the kryptonite. We've been really good everywhere else, and it's been something different a little bit every week. You know, you go back to the Texas game, uncharacteristic, a bunch of missed tackles, and a lot of those big plays came in the run game. And we look at what happened against Ole Miss, but great against the run. And for the most part, good against the pass. They got a big chunk, 60% of their passing yards on 6 plays. Right? And a lot of those are discipline, communication, and letting guys get outside of us. You know, we got beat on a stutter and go. Should have had a little bit more cushion there, kind of know where you're at in the defense and where your help is. So to me, that's the main thing. I know we're going to win the line of scrimmage. We just can't give up the explosive play.
What do your eyes tell you, Gabe?
I completely agree with Ted. I think that's the number one issue. And then get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
I think that, and it's all connected. Your offense has to score points.
Yeah.
To where the other team feels like they got to go make plays offensively. They got to take some risks. And OU's defense just that has not been in that many situations. Yeah. This year where the other team feels the need, hey, we got to drop back. We're behind. That's where a lot of that quarterback pressure comes from. That's where the sack numbers can add up. You know, that's exactly what happened to the Sooners last week against Ole Miss. But it's hard to complain about much with the defense other than the handful of explosive plays that they've given up. It seems like they play 70 incredible snaps of defense, but there's 5 or 6 plays where they're giving up huge chunks and it swings the game.
And you're right. Lack of real scoreboard pressure has allowed most opposing offenses to be pretty comfortable, not feeling like they have to come from behind.
There's no doubt. And that has, from a statistical standpoint, when it comes to pressuring the quarterback, racking up sacks, that has really hurt this defense, the lack of production by the Sooners offense.
Rush defense, and you mentioned it a few moments ago, they're only allowing 2.8 yards per carry.
That's good, Chad.
Sixth best in the country. And teams have run the ball a bunch because they've been ahead on the scoreboard and no reason to really throw the ball, Gabe. So what's been kind of the formula? Just flat winning at the line of scrimmage?
That's it. And, teams can say, oh, we've gotten conservative and run the ball. Listen, man, we watched the tape. You guys are getting whooped at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
I don't want to hear, oh, we're being conservative. No, it's just OU's defensive line has done a really nice job of winning their battles. I mean, there's no secret here. Football, sometimes it's simple. Can you whip the guy across from you?
Yeah.
And more often than
That's
not.
why we like it.
Yeah, and more often than not, this defensive line has done a very nice job. I've been really impressed with Jaden Jackson the level of play that he's putting out there.
Just
as a
forget
true
that he's a true freshman.
It's fantastic. It makes you so excited for his future. Dominic Williams has been rock solid. I think Ethan Downs has been very underrated when it comes to
there he is.
holding the point on the edge of the defense, especially in the run game. Ted, they've been really good defending the run.
Yeah, and it all ties in. You get good play across the line of scrimmage from your defensive line, and linebackers are in the right place. And that helps you just create that wall all the way across. You know, at times in previous years, whenever we weren't as experienced and didn't know this defense as well, you got a backer that's in the wrong gap, a safety coming down to support in the wrong area, and you end up with these gaping holes in your defense.
Teddy, at times, maybe in the back end in particular, a little bit of confusion and has led to busts. Not that many, but when games are as they have been and the defense has to be so good all the time, what's at the source of that, and how do you correct some of those?
Well, it's hard to pin down the source. It would be really easy to fix if it wasn't something different almost every time. But I think one of the good things in this week, it's a much more methodical pace that you're going to see from Maine. They're going to try and shorten the game. So you shouldn't be panicking to get the call in and get guys communicated and lined up. That's typically whenever the breakdowns happen. But and then, you know, with confidence and, you know, whenever you get worried about making a tackle on a guy when they throw it underneath, you start to get a little bit tighter, creep in a little bit more, and they hit you with those double moves over the top. So play with confidence, trust your underneath players, and protect against those big balls, those deep balls a little bit more.
This is 8 games in and a lot of physical games in the SEC, and the defense is out there a lot. That's a beating from big, grown men, in particular, there on the line of scrimmage. So therefore, maybe a game like this, you work a little of the depth in some of the younger players. Are there a couple of names maybe that you're interested in potentially seeing some playing time this week?
Boganowski.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I want all the Boganowski. But it's interesting because I think Zach Alley and Brent Venables and the rest of this defensive staff, they've done a nice job of working those young guys in. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've seen several guys. I am excited to hopefully see a lot of them in the second half of this football game, especially the young guys at the safety position. I think that they feel really, really good about several of those guys' futures in this defense.
Yeah, backer Lewis Carter, his reps have come down a little bit. You know, had a couple of missed tackles in that Texas game. Want to see him get back out there. And Deshaun McCullough is still working back from that injury and getting more comfortable. I hope we see a lot of him.
Taylor Wine.
Yeah?
I would like to see some Taylor Wine. If I don't see him at defensive line, move him to tight end.
David Stone has come along. You know, he continues to pick up more and more snaps. PJ still needs to get more experience out there.
Tough at times for them to get a lot of playing time because this is a deep veteran defense. It's one of the reasons they've played so well this year, and there's not just a lot of extra reps available for them.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But you've got this game. We know what this game is all about, and there's just nothing that means more in football than going out and getting game reps. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You can practice all you want, you can execute, but you have to feel, even when it's Maine, you have to feel that pressure of everyone watching and having to get the call and having to go out there and execute. So you want, on both sides of the ball, you want as many young guys as possible getting out there on the field for this one.
The Maine Black Bears prowling into town with a veteran quarterback and the son of an all-time NFL great who is a playmaker himself on the roster. We will give you a scouting report on them when we return on Sooner Game Day. Sooner Game Day, Oklahoma and Maine on Saturday at the Palace on the Prairie. Keep an eye on that forecast. We're going to. Why are you guys looking at me? I'm not the weatherman. I just report what I hear.
We'll have the rain gear ready.
Yeah.
Plank and I will be prepared.
Not worried about it. We're going to keep it away. We're going to
keep the lightning away, Chad.
Yes, that's the most important
Get the
thing.
weather machine out and keep it away.
One of the sloppiest games I've ever seen here, Samaje Perine ran for an NCAA rushing record. There was no lightning, and we played on through, and he just kept on running. Yeah. You never know what you're going to miss. Hey, I'm just saying.
A wet track, Favors the offense.
That it
always does.
Yep.
You know where you're going. Defense doesn't.
Maybe it will Carter Peavy, the main quarterback. Gabe, give us a little scout. Pretty mistake-free guy, and he's a veteran who transferred from Mercer.
Yeah, a guy that's played a ton of football, has good size. You look at the tape, he definitely stands out at that level, and good mobility. Not great. He's not going to turn your lights out as a runner, but he will extend plays. He does a nice job of keeping his eyes down the field and delivering the ball, and then he's not afraid to take some chances. This is a guy that wants to push it down the field, and he wants to find number 81. That's what he does. Montego Moss is his go-to guy. You see the athleticism right there. It's like he's got one of the best receivers ever as his dad. But I've been impressed with Peavy. I was hoping that they would be terrible at quarterback, and unfortunately they're not.
What about, we mentioned Montego Moss. They've also got Brian Santana Fiss, who's been in a pretty good groove lately. He's had his 2 best games. What are the weapons around Carter Peavy like offensively, Ted?
Yeah, they're limited compared to the backs that we've seen. We've seen some really good running backs so far in the SEC. It's going to be a step down, but physical, and they find good ways to get him. You see here, getting him outside on the perimeter against some smaller players. But the big key for us is going to be really cutting down the width of whenever they're trying to expand you in the running game. Keep everything condensed where it's nice and tight holes for the safety to come up and make plays and the backers to make those big physical hits behind the line of scrimmage.
I look defensively, I see Xavier Holmes, 9.5 sacks, or 5.5 sacks, 9.5 tackles for loss. Is he the headliner over there, Gabe?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
He, unfortunately, you turn the tape on and you go, who's this guy on the edge and why is he at Maine?
Right.
6'3", 245 pounds, pretty twitchy. He's got 5.5 sacks. Going, wait, what's going on here? We're going to be playing some young tackles.
Yeah.
He's gonna look at this opportunity to show out.
No doubt.
Veteran player, like, hey, well, I'm going against Oklahoma. This is my chance. You have to play with really good technique against this guy, because if you don't, he will beat you. It is proven. He has put it on tape.
Yeah, the long string of excellent edge players continues. It feels like we've had one of these guys pretty much every week.
He's not Umamielen from Ole Miss, but he's not a slappy.
Right.
I mean, this guy he's played a lot of football and he's got a lot of production.
He's not a slappy. I love that term. My Pleasure is presented by Chick-fil-A. Download the Chick-fil-A app and order your favorites ahead of time. Teddy Lehman, other than a clear afternoon and no lightning, what would give you the most pleasure come about 5 o'clock on Saturday?
Clean football, and offensively continue the rhythm, run game, efficient passes, continue to find our playmakers, get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly with a good platform, eyes downfield. I need to see Jackson Arnold's best game.
No sacks.
I like that idea.
No sacks would bring me a lot of pleasure.
I can tell.
I think
whether they're real or fabricated. None.
We've been through it the last couple of weeks, guys, and I would like to see Jackson Arnold walk away from this game untouched in the passing game. That would bring me the most pleasure.
Non-conference play for the Sooners, but some very important games around the SEC. We will take a look at some of those and preview the big showdown nationally, Penn State and Ohio State. That is next on Sooner Game Day, presented by Taco Mayo.
Sooner Game Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. OU Health, proud to be Oklahoma's flagship academic health system. The best place to gear up for game day is shop.soonersports.com. Log on to Soonersports.com/kids for information about joining the Sooner Junior Kids Club, presented by OG&E and brought to you in part by Orthodontics exclusively, Mathis Home, and Devon Energy. Thank you to our cornerstone television partners, OU Health, OG&E, Fowler Auto Group, and Coca-Cola.
Your NCAA update is presented by Taco Mayo. Big appetite, bigger savings. Download and save today. So last week, battle of unbeatens in SEC play at Texas A&M. With another win, Alabama bullies Missouri. So, guys, little update. Texas A&M, the only team without a loss in SEC play. 4 teams with 1 loss, 6 have 2 losses. So by my math, I think that's like 10 teams with 1 or 2 losses in conference play. What kind of an Armageddon scenario are we headed for, Ted?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I don't think we're going to have anyone unbeaten, at the top by the end of the season, which is great. I mean, you want a really good competitive league, and I think it is. You got Georgia; they've already taken the loss, obviously, but outside of them, I still think they're the clear best team in the conference. I feel like almost anyone else on a given week can be beaten.
You agree?
No doubt. I find it very hard to believe that any team's going undefeated, and I think Texas A&M's playing really good football. No fast-talking politicians running that program, right, Mike? Right, Mike Elko?
He's not talking about the
No,
previous.
it was a generalization.
That was awesome.
It was.
So awesome. But in all seriousness, I think that guy's a heck of a football
Yes, he
coach.
is.
He's done a really nice job. We'll see what it looks like for Marcel Reed in Columbia this weekend. But you look at the rest of their schedule, they've got South Carolina, Auburn, and Texas in College Station. Those are all winnable games. They could go undefeated in conference play.
What great games, though, we're going to have headed down the home stretch. My goodness.
Georgia still has Ole Miss and Tennessee. Texas has Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, and A&M.
And that's just in the SEC. We're not talking about the other leagues. All right, it's time for our Pick'em scoreboard, how we did last week and how we're doing for the season. Here he comes.
Man,
Here he comes. He's got that closing speed. 5 for 5 was Ted Lehman last week.
I was
Sorry about
feeling
that, guys.
so good about LSU.
Yeah.
Until the second half.
Well, that's the thing. A&M, I mean, they looked really good, but if that first half team shows up on the road, that's going to be difficult for them.
So our Game Day Pick'em is presented by Riverwind Casino. Good times, great rewards. Every week we seem to have a top 5 matchup. This week is no different. Ohio State and Penn State. Drew Aller, the Penn State quarterback. You wonder about his health coming into the game. Ohio State, they're the number 2 defense in the country, but you question the schedule. Their best performance was in a loss to Oregon, you could certainly argue. So who are you picking here, Teddy?
I'm taking Penn State, and it's one of those where Franklin's been terrible against Ohio State.
Yeah.
1-9.
I think that they found some stability. I think they're playing a little bit differently than they have in the past. I like what Colton Nicky's done there as the offensive coordinator. They're at home. I think it's going to be a great environment. Give me the home team.
Give me Ohio State, and I like them big. And it's all because I think they have more playmakers on offense. Other than Tyler Warren for Penn State.
Even at quarterback?
Yes.
Okay.
What, you want Pribula? I don't even know how to say the guy's name.
No, okay.
Drew
Okay.
Aller, a banged-up Drew Aller, I just don't think that's a recipe.
No, that I agree with.
I don't think that's a recipe for success for Penn State. Give me the Buckeyes.
I am taking Ohio State as well. I just think eventually talent comes out. It hasn't necessarily been there every single week, but I think they're the most talented team. Ole Miss and Arkansas. This is in Fayetteville. Ole Miss, of course, we saw them last week. By the numbers, these are the top 2 offenses in the SEC. And Arkansas, typically, when they run the football, they're very good, especially when Talon Green runs the football at quarterback, but they are turnover prone. I'm taking the Hogs in this game. Teddy, how about you?
Ooh, same. I'm taking the home team.
You acted surprised when I said it.
Oh, well, I didn't know that you were
thought
going to
he
make
was
the
gonna
right
be the only
pick.
one.
Yeah, Arkansas is going to win the football game. I don't think Ole Miss is all that good. I mean, they're a good football team, but they're not what everyone predicted they were going to be this year. We'll see what happens with Trey Harris and Walter Nolan. If they get those 2 guys back, that's a big factor. But give me the home team with Arkansas.
I'm going against every fiber of my being, and I will take Ole Miss.
Okay. He's going to be different.
Jackson Dart, guy's a playmaker. I just think that they find a way on the road.
Yeah.
That's a scoreboard pick. He's trying to make up ground on us.
It is. He is.
Look, it's in my notes.
Okay.
Going against every fiber in my being.
There
If
you go.
Arkansas will just run it 35 times, they'll be just fine. Texas A&M and South Carolina. A&M unbeaten. We discussed them a moment ago. Gamecocks can look like world beaters, in particular on the defensive side of the ball, and that might be the weakness for Texas A&M. Teddy, are you willing to pick South Carolina?
Sure. They're going to win
Okay.
the football game. What they have on defense is the next level for Texas A&M. They're way better on the line of scrimmage, and particularly on the edge, than what LSU was. going on the road after a huge emotional win. There's going to be a little bit of a letdown there. South Carolina was on a bye week.
Yes,
They're
they were.
going to be prepared for both quarterbacks.
I'm having some trouble forgetting the egg that South Carolina laid at home earlier in the year against Ole Miss.
Yeah,
They're
I'm
prone to
struggling
but
with
it was
that.
a mess early in the game. It was a disaster.
There's no doubt. I think you combine Marcel Reed's ability to run with Le'Veon Moss. I think the Aggies are going to be able to run it against them. I think that neutralizes Kennard and Stewart on the edge. Give me A&M to go get it done.
I'm going South Carolina as well. I think we're just going to have to pick.
It's either going to be a great weekend for me or a bad one.
Unbeaten Pitt. They've been living kind of a charmed life. They've got SMU. I'm going to take SMU. I like what they've done at quarterback. He's cleared to play this week as well. Gabe, who are you going with?
Yeah, I don't know what Eli Holstein's status is for Pitt. Give me the ponies.
Same. Taking SMU, home team.
Vanderbilt at Auburn. Auburn, amazing win last week. Vanderbilt, they're the darlings. They're the darlings. Are you picking them?
No, they're a really good football team. Love their quarterback. But give me the home team. Give me Auburn.
I'm taking Auburn as well. I feel terrible about betting against Diego
And that's
Pavia.
why I'm taking Diego Pavia
There
and
you go.
Vanderbilt
you're
in
doing
this
it. Okay.
game. Yeah, why
Okay.
not? What have I got to lose? It's all fabrications anyway. Coming up next, Sooners in the NFL. Jalen Hurts playing some pretty good football with the Eagles. Why were people doubting the Eagles? Now they're winning games once again. Too many hot takes out there, I guess. Plus, we'll have our hot takes to close the show next.
Sooner Game Day is brought to you by Riverwind Casino. Good times, great rewards. Coca-Cola. Is Coke Zero the best Coke ever? Take a test. OG&E. We energize life. The Sooner Sports Podcast is your all-access audio pass to Sooner Sports. Listen as Toby Rowland and Chris Plank talk all things Sooners. New episodes drop every day. Log on to Soonersports.com/podcast or search Sooner Sports Podcast in your favorite podcast provider. Presented by Allstate and Riverwind Casino.
.1:30 is kickoff Saturday. Reminder, the game is on SEC Network Plus. Sooners in the NFL. Jalen Hurts, no doubt. I mean, they're right there in second place in the NFC East, primed where they want to be.
When Lane
Cruising.
Johnson plays, the Eagles are very good.
It gets way better.
Teddy, not many people are going to say they sacked Lamar Jackson, but Obo Okoronkwo will be one of those guys.
Absolute stud. He has carved out a really nice career in the NFL. Proud of him. He's fun to watch.
And if CeeDee Lamb's quarterback stopped throwing the football away, they might win some games as well.
Good luck on
America's team.
Yes, they are.
Struggling.
Always,
What a shame.
Always an adventure, always in the headlines. Hot takes are presented by Air Comfort Solutions, your total home solution for plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical. Make the winning call today. What will be the winning call at the end of things on Saturday, Gabe? What are we going to be talking about?
Jackson Arnold, 300 all-purpose yards.
Wow, okay.
Big first half for Jackson Arnold.
Yeah. You said it to start off. No 100-yard rusher, no 100-yard receiver this season. I think we get both this week.
One of each.
One of each.
Doubling up. Perfect. I like that idea. Oklahoma and Maine coming up on Saturday here at the Palace on the Prairie, 1:30. Again, ignore any threat of rain. It's going to be
What's your
fine.
hot take?
I don't have to come up with one. I'm the host.
Yeah, you do. I just put you on the spot. You got to come up
His
with
hot take is it's not going to rain.
It's not going to rain. Yes, no rain.
my eyebrows.
Most importantly, no lightning. We will stand a little bit of rain. For Ted Lehman and Gabe Eichert, I'm Chad McKee. We'll see you next week on Sooner Game Day.